New York City has been torn down and rebuilt more times than almost any city on Earth. Every generation looked at what came before and said, not big enough, not fast enough, not tall enough. And in that constant demolition and reinvention, you can actually read the entire story of America, its ambition, its money, its immigration, its politics, written in steel, stone, and glass. This is the history of architecture in New York. Before it was New York, it was New Amsterdam. A scrappy Dutch trading post founded in 1625. The architecture was borrowed straight from Holland, steep gabled roofs, small windows, and brick or stone construction meant to survive damp winters, not to impress anyone. Almost nothing physical survives from this era, a few street names, and the shape of Lower Manhattan's crooked lanes, which still follow old cow paths and property lines instead of a grid. Wall Street literally gets its name from a wooden wall the Dutch built along the edge of the settlement. When the English took over in 1664, the Dutch style didn't disappear overnight, it just slowly got absorbed into something more British, more Georgian, more formal. By the late 1700s and early 1800s, New York was building in the federal style, simple, symmetrical brick townhouses with modest ornamentation, flat facades, and elegant fanlight windows over the front doors. You can still find rows of these in Greenwich Village and along parts of the Lower East Side. This was a city still small enough to walk across in an afternoon. Church spires like St. Paul's Chapel were the tallest things around. But that was about to change, fast. In 1811, city planners made a decision that would shape New York forever. The commissioner's plan laid a rigid street grid over most of Manhattan. No grand boulevards, no plazas. Just efficient, sellable rectangular blocks built for speed and profit. As the population exploded through immigration, developers churned out brownstones, those iconic brown sandstone row houses with high stoops, by the thousands. They were fast to build, easy to replicate, and perfect for a city growing faster than anyone could plan for. Meanwhile, downtown, a new material was changing what buildings could even look like. In the mid-1800s, cast iron let builders create ornate, classical-looking facades cheaply and quickly. You can still see hundreds of these buildings in Soho today, mass-produced elegance bolted onto factory buildings. But the real turning point was invisible, the elevator. Once Elisha Otis proved his safety elevator worked, height stopped being a problem, going up 10 floors was no harder than going up 2. Combine that with a new technique, steel frame construction, which meant walls no longer had to bear the weight of the whole building, and suddenly New York could grow vertically instead of just outward. By 1902, the Flatiron Building was turning heads not just for its height, but for its bizarre triangular shape, wedged into a fight between Broadway and Fifth Avenue. New York had discovered the skyscraper. It would never look back. The early 20th century turned skyscraper building into a full-blown competition. The Woolworth Building, finished in 1913, was dubbed the Cathedral of Commerce, Gothic details dressed up in steel and terracotta, reaching 792 feet. Then came the legendary duel of 1930, architects for 40, Wall Street and the Chrysler Building were secretly racing to claim world's tallest. Chrysler's architect, William Van Allen, hit a 185-foot steel spire inside the building's crown and hoisted it into place in under 2 hours, stealing the title at the last minute. The victory barely lasted a year. In 1931, the Empire State Building opened, 102 stories, built during the Great Depression in just over a year, and it would hold the world's tallest title for 4 decades. This was Art Deco at its peak, geometric, glamorous, unapologetically vertical. After World War II, New York architecture changed its philosophy completely. European modernists like Mies van der Rohe brought a new idea: strip everything down. No ornament, no historical references, just glass, steel, and honest structure. The Seagram Building and Lever House on Park Avenue became the templates for the modern glass office tower, a look that would get copied, and often cheapened, in cities worldwide for the next 50 years. By the 1970s, the World Trade Center pushed the idea to its extreme: two nearly identical, minimalist towers, over 1,300 feet tall, dominating the skyline until their destruction on September 11, 2001, a loss that reshaped not just the skyline, but how the city thought about its own buildings. Today's New York is a mix of preservation and ambition. Landmark laws, passed partly in reaction to the demolition of the original Penn Station in 1963, now protect thousands of historic buildings from being torn down. At the same time, super tall, and super skinny towers like 432 Park Avenue are pushing height and thinness to physics-defying extremes, funded largely by ultra-luxury real estate. An old infrastructure keeps getting reborn. An abandoned elevated freight line became the High Line, one of the most influential public spaces built anywhere this century. New York's architecture was never about one style winning. It's about layers: Dutch gables, federal brick, cast iron, Art Deco spires, glass boxes, and glass towers, all stacked on top of each other, block by block. Every building in this skyline was once someone's argument about what the future should look like. Some of those arguments won. Some got demolished within a generation. But together, they made New York the most argued about skyline on the planet, and it's still being written today. If you want more deep dives into the buildings and cities that shaped the modern world, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.